The source. The spirit of the perennial spring is said to be immortal. She is called the mysterious one. The mysterious one is the source of the universe. She is continuously, endlessly giving forth life without effort. There are some things that we just can't know. There's aspects of a reality that are unknown. And that's not a matter of a development in science or a sudden realization through religion or any other kind of even personal introspection in which we can come to terms and have a full understanding. And this is fascinating to me. At some points, this book reads like an instruction manual for governance, and in other moments as meditation suggestions, or in this case, simply points to the fact that it's imperfect. And far from being a criticism, I think that's a really important recognition. It's something that a moral system requires. Any system that claims to have all of the answers, any person who claims to have all of the answers is likely lying, or has certainly inflated their own abilities and maybe overestimating what they are actually able to deliver on. And baked into that feature is a kernel of knowledge that can be applied elsewhere. In that we look for systems to make our life easier, we look for ways to interact that make our life easier, and a moral feature of the systems that make sense, that are consistent with reality, that are consistent with the human experience, are those that recognize and accommodate for a lack of perfection, at least in knowledge, but also a lack of perfection in many other ways, which I won't get into in 5 minutes here. That is a moral feature that the Tao Te Ching and Taoism seems to share with capitalism. In that capitalism doesn't claim to say, hey, I have this figured out. I believe I truly know what is best for you, and I'm going to prescribe it. In fact, I'm going to force it upon you. Capitalism doesn't do that. It says, as a basic principle, you have the right to make choices for yourself because you are unique, because you are valuable, because you are one of a kind, and you are an element of the mysterious one. You are part of this universe which is unknown. And we're constantly running up against the unknown. There are so many things that we do not know, and yet we still have to make choices. This is something that comes up, of course, in the Tao Te Ching through these more loose examinations, but it also shows up in economics frequently. Specifically, the thought that came to mind here was Thomas Sowell, as he talks about this and the importance of visions. Social visions, he says, are important in a number of ways. The most obvious is that policies based on a certain vision of the world have consequences that spread through society and reverberate across the years or even across generations or centuries. Visions set the agenda for both thought and action. They fill in necessarily large gaps in individual knowledge. Thus, for example, an individual may act in one way in some area in which he has great knowledge, but just the opposite way elsewhere where he is relying on a vision he has never tested empirically. And as I'm running out of time, I'll cut this quote off a little bit to point out that in a world of finite time and finite resources, it is not possible for human beings to be experts in all spaces. The same way that we can't give love and kindness and compassion to all people. There simply are not enough hours in the day. When we talk about capitalism, when we talk about this foundation of value, what's being pointed out is that it requires a choice to find what is valuable to you and have the liberty to pursue it freely.